Hi, welcome to this episode of Thai Food. Today I'm going to make for you my version of sugar cookies. This is my custom recipe, of course. Not saying nobody else has made it like this, but I don't know that they have, so this is the way I make it anyways. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with some sugar, but before I do that I want to preheat the oven. If I can get it to respond here we go. We're going to preheat that to 350 degrees. So we're going to start with our sugar. We're going to use half a cup of brown sugar. I like the flavor you get out of the brown sugar when you use it in these cookies. And after all, it is a sugar cookie, so. And you want to pack this pretty good. Just like so. Alrighty. So there's half a cup of that. And then next we're going to do 1 full cup of granulated white sugar. I got my sugar right here. So we're going to do a full cup of this, so I'm going to do 2 half cups, just for the sake of preserving some dishes. You want them fairly level. There's one. Alrighty. There's 2 half cups or 1 full cup of sugar. Alrighty, get that down off the counter, out of the way here. Next, we want 2 sticks of butter. Try to keep my egg from running away on me. And you want this room temperature or softened, because that's going to work the best for you in this recipe. And we just kind of let this sit out overnight and half the day yesterday. It's all good. It's only about 70 degrees in here, so it's not a big deal. There's 1. This will be number 2. Now, you could use whatever you want to compensate for butter, but I use regular butter in everything I bake, cooking, and all that. I don't mess around with Crisco or none of that. The only thing I use Crisco for is deep frying for the most part. Rinse my fingers off, got a little butter on them. Alright, now what we want to do is we want to cream the sugar and the butter together, as it's called. Basically just get these mixed together here. I'm just going to sort of get it on there, and there we go. This kind of breaks up the clump of brown sugar from packing it and gets it pre-mixed. Now we're going to add some extract to this. And I'm going to add vanilla and almond extract to my cookies. Makes a superior sugar cookie as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of each. So there's 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And here's the almond extract. And this is a pure extracts that I use. I don't use any imitations. But again, if that's what you got, go for it. Who am I to tell you it's wrong? It's your money, spend it how you want. I just prefer the superiority of the pure extracts. That's just my personal opinion. I'm going to go ahead and mix these in. Now these aren't like those Lofthouse sugar cookies that you see at Walmart, where they taste like flour, but the icing is what brings the sugar together in them. Not even close to that. I'm going to do one of the eggs in here. I'm going to crack it into this cup to check for shells. Since we used it for sugar, it's not a big deal. Go. One egg. I'll just set that there. Go ahead and dump that in and start mixing it into the sugar here. And of course, you want your eggs room temperature when you do this. Do our other egg. And I'm going to throw these in the garbage real quick. I don't like to leave the eggshells sitting around because then they get knocked off and make a mess. There we go. Break the yolk up a little bit. Now you can definitely do this in a KitchenAid mixer if you got a stand mixer. It works as well. Probably makes it even a little bit easier. I just didn't feel like dragging it over to the island, so I'm just going to mix it by hand here. Alright, there we go. So there's that. Now we need 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda. There's 1, 2, 3 half teaspoons. Alrighty. And for the flour, we're going to need 3 cups of flour. Get this out of my way. And I always keep little scoops in the flour and sugar. It makes it easier. You don't really want to pack your flour when you do this, because then you'll wind up with too much flour. Just kind of want to loosely scoop it into the cup. If you got too much flour, then you end up with more cake-like cookies. You know, the kind that you get at Walmart that you can roll out and use for, you know, cutting them out. Those style sugar cookies. These are totally different style that I'm making here. And you could make them that way if you wanted to. All you got to do is just add an extra like half a cup of flour or something like that, and it'll make it so it's rollable, and you can cut it out to make like reindeer and such with it. It's totally up to you. There's number 2. Number 3. There we are. Go ahead and put our lid back on the flour. I'm going to just pre-mix it by hand here really quick, so that when I turn this on I don't get a whole poof of flour and flour everywhere. Not that it's totally going to keep that from happening, but I'm trying to minimize it at least. There we go. little pieces going everywhere on me, but it happens. There we go. It's starting to come together now. Alright. At this point I'm going to switch to the hand method. It's a little too much for this mixer to handle now that it's starting to hydrate the flour for us. Trying to get as much as I can back in there without losing too much here. I'm a little picky when it comes to this, but it's my own cross to bear. Mix this in with rubber spatula. I mean, at this point, it's pretty much all incorporated and ready to make cookies with. And like I said, you can see it's a little bit loose. It's not really much of a dough for like rolling out. And all it would take is about another half a cup of flour if that's the type of dough you want. But I like a more regular, normal sugar cookie without the frosting. To me, that's a sugar cookie. Just my opinion again. So there we go. There's my sugar cookie dough. At this point, all we got to do is just put it on a cookie sheet. And I just happen to have a couple ready. Give me a second here and wipe this counter down real quick before I put my cookie sheet on there so I don't burn stuff to the bottom of it. There we are. So I got two cookie sheets here. Got these at Sam's Club, and I picked up these copper baking mats that you see. We picked them up at I want to say Ollie's Bargain Outlet is where we found them. They had them at Bed Bath & Beyond as well, but I didn't like their price on them. I'm a bit of a bargain shopper. So I went to Ollie's and they had them there, and I said, well, that works for me. So all I've got here is a little, kind of like an ice cream scooper of sorts that you can get at any restaurant supply store. Any size you want. They have all different sizes. This is what we use to make our cookies with. Just kind of pack it flush in there, and then voila, really fast, and makes, you know, same size cookies rather than trying to drop them by a spoonful or something. You don't have to do it this way if you got like a number 2 tablespoon. And I call it a number 2 because it does 2 tablespoons at once. You could do like 2 of these or something like that, you know, or, you know, 1/3 of a cup measuring cup. You could use one of those. It's just a little harder to get the dough back out once you mash it in there to make it about the same. So we fit about 6 cookies on this sheet. And it's a loose enough dough that as you bake it, it's going to, you know, move right down and out. But is what I would do is I'd help it a little bit so it bakes a little even, a little more even, I should say. You know, the outside bakes about as fast as the middle. And it's real easy to do that. All you do is get it on there, take a little spatula and give it a little squeeze, and hopefully it releases. And if it doesn't, you can always use your fingers. You know, just kind of mash it down a little bit. You can always spray this with a non-stick spray, and it will definitely release then. And then you'll have a little non-stick spray on top of the cookie, but See, I just kind of mash it down a little. And it'll, like I said, it'll spread out while it's baking. And these do make rather large cookies, so if you want smaller cookies, you just, make smaller mounds. I'm going to throw these in the oven. I figure probably about 8 to 10 minutes is all these are going to need. So I'm going to set them for 8 minutes and then I'll check them real quick. And while they're baking, I'm going to go ahead and clean up a little bit. And let me set my timer here. 8 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and clean up the rest of this mess a little bit and get this other sheet ready to bake. And we'll stop back with you and see how they turned out. Okay, so timer just started going off here. Let's check them. And I'm liking what I see right here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those. They're just a little bit of golden brown around the outside. And go ahead and put my other tray in here. Set my timer for 8 minutes again. At about the 6-minute mark of them being in there, I rotated them 180 degrees. You really don't have to do that, but my wife said she usually bakes her cookies for 6 minutes, so I checked them and they still needed to go the extra 2 minutes. So at this point, they're starting to cool off enough. I'm going to try to slip them off onto the cooling rack. Let's see here. That looks like a good candidate right here. Nice flexible spatula that's large enough. Oh yeah, they're going to be soft, that's for sure. I like mine a little chewy. If you like them a little crispier, I'd say let them go a little bit longer. I'm going to let them sit on the rack and cool off a little bit longer though. Because while they're in that heat, they're going to bake a little bit more. Great thing about this recipe, if you take some white chocolate chips, I'd say about 3/4 cup of white chocolate chips, 1/2 cup of macadamia nuts, you got white chocolate macadamia nut cookies. Instead of the teaspoon of vanilla, just add 2 teaspoons of the almond extract, and bada boom, bada bing. Like I said, white chocolate chip macadamia nut cookies. So this is kind of like the first leg of that. Just throw those add-ons in, and there you go. But I tried a little bit of the dough. Tasted good to me. I'm just going to let these cool down a little bit, and then we'll come back to you in a few minutes here. Okay, so we got about 2 minutes, 40 seconds left on the oven. I managed to get these off. I only marred up one of them. That's a good sugar cookie in my opinion. And that's all there is to it. I got about 1.5 dozen out of there after I ate one of the cookie doughs. Wasn't enough for a full cookie, so I said I'll go ahead and eat it anyways. So I got about 1.5 dozen out of that at this size. If you added the white chocolate macadamia nuts, or the white chocolate chips and the macadamia nuts to this, you'd probably get about 2 dozen out of it. So it's not a bad batch. But thanks for tuning in. Feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Check out my Facebook group, Thai Food. I'm on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks for tuning in.